Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Fireside Chat with the Man Scout Jake Manning. Joining us at Fireside Campside, Brian Pillman Jr. Brian, how are you doing, buddy?
How's it going?
Good.
We got ourselves quite the fireside gathering here.
We do. Everybody gives me a hard time that I don't have an actual fire, but we usually stay at Marriott properties. It's right there. Start the fire.
There's our warmth. Who knows? Maybe you do an episode out in the woods where we teach people how to start a fire.
Lighting would be shit.
I'll tell you what, I'll light a fire right now. I'll light a fire in my belly of this Bud Light.
Yeah, we'll light a fire.
Will light.
And we'll burn some people. So if you want to bury them, we'll burn and bury people.
The annual roast, the high spots roast.
But I'm glad you got on board and you wanted to do this. You were the first person I asked. Out of everybody, WrestleCade weekend, I go, I want to sit down.
Is this the first fireside gathering?
This is the second one.
Okay.
The second one. But I mean, like
first
of the weekend.
Okay. Who's the first?
Yeah. Darren Corbin, Eric Cannon.
Okay.
So like you were the.
We got a lot to live up to.
You have a lot to live up to, but let's try not to do 3 hours like I did with.
Oh, that's wild, yeah.
But I'm sure
give me a good hour, maybe some more, a little extra, a little cake on top, a little icing.
We'll see.
We'll keep going all night. Yeah,
we'll keep going. But like I said, I knew we wouldn't be short on topics. We wouldn't be short on conversation. But as always, I have to apologize, like I do for all of these. These might be like WTF, like early episodes of Mark Maron. This episode might be more about me than it is you. So I apologize right off the bat.
No, we're learning and we're building a new series of content for the fans, and you never know. There's different hurdles you got to go through.
Exactly.
Introducing new characters, and one of the main characters is obviously you.
Like me, because you're obviously doing better than I am these days. Most notably, I want to talk about this, and I. This is on my notes of things I want to talk to, but this is just a great opening to start talking about it.
Yeah.
You just wrestled at the Comedy Store.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck was that like?
Yeah. Talk about an unreal situation.
Because I'm jealous.
A situation that and many people are. Many people, that would consider themselves high-level performers, comedians, actresses, all these types of people would kill to perform in that building. It's such a prestigious, historic building. People... men and women of all ages, they line up outside hoping to get a shot, hoping to just get a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes on a mic, just so they can get themselves out there as a comedian. It's definitely the hot spot and just the bed of producing high-level performers, and to be able to say that I performed there is such a privilege and such an honor.
But not just like stand-up, but like wrestling there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, like me being a stand-up comedian myself, and then also a wrestler, and then seeing other people on there, I'm just like, I can't tell you the amount of just like, I wish I could be there.
Yeah.
Like,
and the beautiful thing is, it was such a success that we're told that it's going to keep continuing in the future.
Well, how did they get up with you? Like, how did these wheels start turning for you? Who reached out? Yeah. How did they plan it? What was their ideas?
So Tony Hinchcliffe was the mind behind this. He's been a regular at the Comedy Store for the past 12 years or so. He bleeds black and red. That's what they talk about. That's their colors. That's what they represent.
Is that something that they say?
It's something about the black and red,
Yeah, I know that's their colors, but like that's what they say. Okay.
Yeah, they're always talking about, because that's like a family to them, just like we have a family in wrestling. And the stand-up comedian, all those guys, they're like brothers, right?
Because a lot of them started off as doormen, and then they worked their way up to like paid regulars, and then headliners and all that stuff. So it's very much like their own little system. And that's the thing about being like a stand-up comedian in pro wrestling. Like the hustle's all the same. The roads, the travel, how you get your name out there, how you get to do that.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, it's a steel on the steel horse I ride. You're wanted, dead or alive. You're traveling. You're paying your dues, and at the same time, you might be making a living. You might be putting smiles on people's faces all over the world. And tell you what, I was flown in a night early. And Tony put this whole thing together with the help of Enzo Amore and NEW. So there was some collaborative efforts there. But the real mind behind booking the show was Tony Hinchcliffe and the comedians, the Store Horsemen, which is like a play on the Four Horsemen, the Comedy Store Horsemen. And these guys had a vision for what they wanted to do. They wanted to do a roast.
Okay.
So there was a roast that they did in the upper level, or the upstairs part of the club. They roasted the Ultimate Warrior. And then after that, all the fans, everybody came down. And the ring was already set up, and me and Enzo had the very first match. So, very first match, the very first person to walk through the curtain at the Comedy Store.
The first person to wrestle in the fucking Comedy Store.
Was me, yeah. I was the first person to wrestle there. So, and it's crazy because looking back on this in 10 years, it's going to be like, oh, wow, that was so cool, like, that Brian got to do that. But, like, right now, living in the moment, you don't even realize what you're doing and that you're creating history. So, it was really nice. Tony was very happy with how it went. It was a great turnout, and like I said, I think he's going to do more. Mm-hmm. And they already talked about certain guys that they want to bring in, or certain guys they don't want to bring back. Just certain people that didn't mesh with that audience. And I think
what was it that the people, not to name names, but what were the things that weren't meshing with the audience? Like, how was the audience? Like, what was working, what wasn't working?
You could tell the audience they were very keen to what was going on, both in a comedic sense and in a wrestling sense. So what they wanted tasteful, comedy. They wanted it in a wrestling environment. And oh shoot, we got a phone call.
Oh,
better turn
it's
that
Tony
on.
Hinchcliffe right now booking.
North Carolina. That must be important. We'll wait. We'll wait on that one. Mm-hmm. But I think what they wanted to see more of that misdirection, more of that haha, this, that, and the other.
So they wanted more comedy.
I don't think they were so invested in that, and like all the crazy indie stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't like this is awesome and all that. So It wasn't like nobody was taking any crazy bumps or anything. But at the same time, a lot of these wrestlers, you had guys like Pentagon and Phoenix and different guys that were challenged to wrestle in a different way and to work in a style that appealed to this audience, and it ended up coming out really good. And you had guys like Luchasaurus that had really cool matches and very, very unique creative spots, and they tied in their sponsors. Shout out to Infinite CBD. Thank you for sponsoring the Storecade Show.
If you want to sponsor the Fireside Chat, go ahead. I mean, we'll allow it.
We'll put it over. No, but because they had these sponsors that put into the show, they were able to take them and use them in the spots, in the matches.
Okay.
And so everybody's happy. The comedians are happy, the stockholders, everybody that's involved is happy because we're getting this message across that this is, these two art forms at one point were very much intertwined and intersected. Going back to the days of Kaufman and all that, and it's really interesting that I wouldn't have been booked on that show if I didn't cancel a booking to wrestle Enzo earlier in the year.
Yes, and that's why I want to tie into that because I remember we were in Niles, Ohio. And they wanted to book you and Enzo in Poughkeepsie. Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling me, like, I got a booking that day, and I feel bad canceling. And then, of course...
I never want to cancel because that's been bad faith in our business. It's just our code that we live by. It's like I've never missed a show unless it was, like, for extreme dire, injury or something.
Well, and also you're new, so you're not too far removed from the days of, like, begging for bookings.
Yeah.
So the idea of, like, getting to a point that you're, like, get to pick and choose between more prestigious bookings.
Yeah, I was like, what do I do? Yeah, I was like, what do I do in this situation? And I talked to Eugene because that's who the booking was through. It was through Nick Dinsmore in South or North Dakota, one of those Dakotas.
Yeah, it's like, do I wrestle? No offense to Eugene, but do I wrestle in South Dakota or do I wrestle at the Mid Hudson Civic Center?
And they talked, and I'm all to the Mid Hudson Civic Center. It's my first match back. I haven't wrestled in 572 days. Brian, I want you to be my first match back. And I'm like, man, this. And I don't want to say it like this, but I was like, man, it just seems really selfish of me, and it's selfish of Enzo to say that what his match is more important than maybe Eugene hadn't built this up for months. Maybe Nick and Dinsmore, or maybe Nick Dinsmore put a lot of time and effort into the promos, into the build to get this match. I was going to be wrestling Rich Maxwell, who was also a student of Lance Storm's. So there was a little bit of steam behind it, and I thought, man, this would really suck. But because I took that chance,
well, how did Nick take it? When you canceled?
Yeah, so I was saying, so because I took that chance, I said, you know what, why don't you let me know if I can do this? And he was like, dude, you know what, that's a big opportunity. Mm-hmm. You should take it. Yeah. But I didn't know it was going to lead to something else in the future. Yeah. I didn't know that. I thought maybe, okay, this will be a big one-off thing. Like he'll get his first match back, and then he'll be looking for bigger and better opponents. He'll be moving on. Maybe he'll want to wrestle, Darby or John or Moxley or somebody at NEW. Move up the list, Pentagon, you name it. And then he wanted me back again. He said, hey, but this time we're doing it in LA at the Comedy Store. Are you available? I'm like, shoot, I'm available. It looks like I had nothing going on November 23rd, and that's what happened. So it just goes to show that sometimes there's a fork in the road, and you might have to make a decision that isn't so ideal, but it could pan out for a bigger opportunity.
I've been taking the wrong turns my entire career. So I'm glad you're making the right turns so early.
No, I mean,
because sometimes you get lost and you don't make it back.
Yeah,
so,
I got lucky there.
Yeah, you got very lucky there for sure. I mean, getting this on the Comedy Store. So was it streamed? Like how do they?
I want to say that they streamed it through their service, or they recorded it and they're gonna post it, as like a special or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the rights to it all were, and who has the streaming rights to it, but I'd imagine it was the Comedy Store and the Store Horsemen. Just a huge shout out to Tony Hinchcliffe. He put on his first wrestling show, and it's funny because he's running around with the locker room gorilla with his.
So was he like booking the thing?
Yeah,
he was the guy with the rolled up pieces of paper telling you this.
He was running around, and it was his first, booking his first wrestling show, and it's just cute to see that because we
see it every weekend.
Yeah, we deal with these promoters; they know what they're doing, but we also see some amateur promoters, some guys that haven't done it very much, and they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and it's just to see this high level professional comedian just be like, oh my god, this is what wrestling is. I thought this would be way easier, and it's like, no, there's a lot that goes into it, and to get all the angles across, and some things they weren't happy with, some things they loved, so they learned that it's not just a straight fantasy booking thing. You really got to have those supporting actors, and you got to have those stars that come in, and no, I think it was a great experience for everybody.
Who do you think did the best out of that whole crew of guys? Like who do you think got what that was? Like that show needed to be, because it seemed like it'd be a little bit more fan interactions. Obviously, so the comedy was important. But who really got it?
I want to say that the main event was really good with Pentagon and Phoenix, but I just want to give a shout out to Enzo. I think he really understood what to do that night, and I think the way he put our match together, because with a guy like him, he's been to the top of the top in the WWE.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's had guys like Shawn Michaels, Triple H that have been in his ear since he started. He knows how to entertain people, right? Yeah. He knows how to work, or whatever you want to say. He might not be the most technical wrestler. He might not know all the craziest bumps, but he sells for guys, and he knows how to work, and he knows how to tell a story. And I think just being that it was his deal, his show, he had a lot of creative control about what was going on.
Get off the prove.
Yeah, I thought he hit the nail on the head with what we did in that ring. I thought he hit the nail on the head. It was a great match. We were on first, so we had everything going for us. You know. So I'm not trying to put myself over. I'm just trying to put Enzo over and his creativity and his vision. And the amount of time he puts into, he would never say anything without thinking about it. Like whatever comes out of his mouth is a very carefully curated, a mental thing. Like he doesn't just blab out. Like he really takes pride in what comes out of his mouth. So,
okay. Well, if he's so thoughtful and careful in what he says and what he does, well, what was his thought process when he said he wanted to have another match with you and Poughkeepsie? Why did he choose you over everybody that's out there?
I'm not sure why. I know that whenever we met, we kind of had a connection, and I think he sees a lot of himself in me, like when he was younger, and I think it's a little bit of that. And when I first got into the business, I was asking for people for advice, so I asked Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, who do you think is a good person?
Name drop.
Uncle
Steve?
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve.
The Hollywood blonde, Hollywood uncle. But it was like before I ever bumped, before I had any training. So I'm like, I don't know who Enzo Amore is. But Steve was like, yeah, man, you should watch that Enzo guy. He really knows how to work a mic, And that's exactly whatever Steve meant by that. That's exactly how Enzo operates. He's a very mic driven. He's a very voice driven performer. And you can see that in his work ethic and the things and all the printouts he has and all the notebooks and the books. And he's kept on record all his puns and witty comebacks and everything he's ever done. He's got saved in an archive. He's a different type of wrestler. Because a lot of guys are going out there thinking about all the moves, this, that, and the other. You got some guys that are working on their diet, trying to look as chiseled and perfect. You got your body guys, you got your move guys, you got your hair guys.
There's hair guys?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Enzo's a promo guy, So you got.
And he's kind of a hair guy too.
That's true too.
He's kind of a hair guy.
You gotta have a little bit of everything.
You gotta have a little piece of everything.
Yeah. And you got guys like Jericho that just seem to have it all. A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of the butt.
But what was
A little bit of the bloodline.
So he saw a little bit of you. Saw a little bit of losing your title belt at Longhorn Steakhouse. He had a little bit of that too. When he picked you and he wanted to wrestle you for the match, I think you mentioned like you guys went over it. You kind of like practiced it, rehearsed it.
Yeah.
Like what you guys wanted to do. Like take me through that process.
Yeah, Enzo's the type of guy where he really respects like the old school style of things. So he's not the guy to go in there and call a bunch of spots, if you will. Like he really wanted to work, he wanted to work a certain style. And I told him, like, dude, like there's nothing you can throw at me that I can't handle, and just we'll talk it out there. And if that's how you want to do it, we'll do it that way. So our first match was more or less, we just kind of worked it. We worked it on the fly, and we had a back end and all that. But it was one of those things where. He's like I said, he's a hell of a worker. He's a talker. He's a mental note guy. He's a timing person. He's thinking about he's got a clock in his head. He's thinking about camera angles. So it's the whole 9 yards. You can't go into that. You can't go into the NFL of pro wrestling and do what he did and come out the shits. It's impossible. I mean, so. A lot of people need to understand that, and I don't, I think he gets a lot of flack online or something, that he can't wrestle and all this shit. And I'm like, that's just a joke. I think 90% of what people see on the indies is a less of a polished product than what Enzo is putting out. Enzo's putting out a very refined, performance of wrestling because he went through the refinery. The refinery of wrestling is the WWE. They've conditioned their fans, which is 90% of the fan base, to believe in a certain style of wrestling, and so he's mastered that, and the reactions that you get when you work with Enzo are unlike anything else. It's just very loud. The crowd is very into it, and it doesn't matter who's heel or baby. They're going to be happy. The fans are going to go home happy. So that's me putting him. I'm done putting him over.
Okay,
we're done.
We're done.
He's good. I enjoyed working him twice. And I hope I get continue to again.
Absolutely. And I hope you get to wrestle me again.
Yep.
Because we've had a match before.
Yes, we have.
And it was that day that all this came to fruition that you were going to wrestle him. And the match we had in Niles, Ohio, which was advertised, I was excited for it. I saw it. I was like, yes, I get to wrestle Brian Pillman Jr. I knew this was just a matter of time because that's the way it always, how my career goes.
Yeah.
And then we get there and they said there was going to be a tag match.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
We'll be
Or no, it was going to be a triple threat.
No, it was going to be a tag match.
Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah.
You missed out on a step.
The first.
There was.
Here's a curveball. Here's another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So we came into the day singles match. Then I arrived at the building. It was going to be a tag match. Then there were going to be a three-way match, and then. What was it?
Yeah, 2 minutes, 5 minutes before.
5 minutes before we got there.
Oh, it was a good 5.
Yeah, it was a good 5.
Why don't you go out there and have that singles match? Yeah.
And I remember you had this elaborate story you wanted to do with the water bottle, which is fine.
Yeah. Well, I came in the carload. I was ready. I had the ideas ready.
Yeah, you had the ideas ready,
Yeah,
and I always appreciate that. Yeah. But I wish we had some more time to talk about it.
Yeah.
But we were trying to keep spots that were in a three-way in a singles.
Yeah. Because then we had Palace, and he was excited about it. So it's like, all right, we're all excited about it.
Yeah,
and if they had just left it at that, it'd been awesome.
It would have been fine.
Yeah, because then you got more people to tell this story with. Where in a singles match, there's less options to tell with. But like when it was made a three-way, I was like, oh, this is perfect. And then the wheels started clicking.
Yeah, and then they said right as match 1 was going out there, and then we were match 2, and then we got to change everything back around, and then we go out there and just like. I fucked up the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we both messed up the end. Yeah. And like I watched it, I edited it to make it look as good as possible. Yeah. And I don't hate it as much as I did in the moment.
No, yeah. But I'm the same way. Like I'm super critical in the moment, and especially right after the match. But then sometimes I watch back and I'm like, you know what? That was a good little wrestling match. Because I think too, like I'm improving each year, so I always try to take blame for it. Like I never put it on the other person because. 9 times out of 10, I haven't wrestled as long as them.
Yeah, I think we both absorbed a lot of blame ourselves, and I was super bummed about it.
Yeah.
Because I was super excited about wrestling you coming into the day, and then after we did it, I was super bummed at the way it came out.
And then don't sweat it, because that shit happens, and like you said, we can chalk it up to, but it's a learning experience too, because maybe you're down the road, maybe you're working for Cody or for Vince, and maybe they pull the same thing. Oh, we got these guys. Oh no, now it's a tag match. Oh, maybe it's a triple threat now. Oh, now you're fighting for the belt and putting you up for the belt. You never know. You might get the AEW World Champion one day, but you might have thought it was a 3-way squash. So like anything can happen in wrestling. I think that was the ultimate lesson that both of us learned, and especially me coming from a less experienced background, I definitely was shooken up by that challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about it, but I was very frustrated because I've been very frustrated with Northeast
Wrestling. And Kurt Angle was there.
Yeah, Kurt Angle was there, but I've been very frustrated with Northeast Wrestling, and especially at that period of time. I'm like, you're really gonna?
Don't get me started on.
We can. We can if you want. I mean, it's our show.
No, we gotta get. We gotta continue.
I edit their shows. They can't get rid of me. They haven't figured out a way yet. I mean, they've been trying for years. I mean, they put me on a multi-match losing streak. Yeah. And didn't even realize that they had me lose until I lost 30 or 40 matches. Yeah. We've had you lose every match. We didn't realize that was a thing.
But the beauty of the NEW shows is, sometimes they get canceled. Sometimes sometimes they're not on the right day. Sometimes you thought it was on the 21st and it's on the 20th, and you're like, what the fuck? I missed the show. But when they do happen, and you do show up, magic happens, right? The fans are happy. I know the loudest pop I've ever heard of my literal life. I'm not making this up. The loudest pop I ever heard was when you won that Battle Royal at NEW in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. It was my first show in Connecticut. It was my first NEW show. I opened the show with a tag match.
It was a good tag match.
Against Colby Carino, And I had a good time. And it was cool to wrestle Kobe. I wish we tagged together because, we could be the Super Saiyan. But I was I just remember sitting in the back and everybody's kind of kind of on edge because, Cody's there and I don't know if the Bucks were secretly making an appearance, but a bunch of cool guys were there, Adam Page and all them, because they're hyping up AEW, so they're going all the indies and they're just, flexing their stuff and probably just working for free just to hype up the new company. Mm-hmm. And I remember you won this battle royal, and it was like a gunshot went off. It was like a fucking dynamite. It was literally the place exploded because, like you said, you had such a long lose streak that no one expected it.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
10 years.
Of driving up to those shows most of the time from Charlotte, North Carolina.
And that's the pop you get, and you just don't get that anywhere. You don't get that on TV. You don't get that anywhere. That was a very special time. Yeah, it was a very special time.
The NEW's got special matches like that for sure. But speaking of special matches, there's a special match. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. I think it kind of happened in a tag format. Is you and Jushin Liger?
Yeah. So I was really grateful to have the opportunity at Defy. Actually,
yes.
I was up in Seattle, Defy. And I was able to wrestle Liger in a tag. So just a little bit of action. We had some spots in the beginning, and we had a nice little ending section. I hit him with the old drop kick. He said, "Give me a drop kick like your dad," So it was really honorable for me to get in the ring with him, and I didn't want to do too much because with his age and stuff, and I'm still young in the business. I get a little jazzed up, and I know sometimes I light guys up for real, and I don't mean to, but you get a little carried away out there, and the last thing I'd want to do would be to hurt a legend like Jushin Thunder Liger, and just maybe get too far.
You don't want to be that one guy.
Yeah, that stiffed him or something, and hurt him.
Like of the multiple times that I've wrestled Jerry the King Lawler, I'm always like, man, don't let me be the guy that gives him a black eye, or gives him a black eye, and then he's got to be on Raw like that Monday.
And he dies in the ring. Dies in the ring because he's old. No, I'm kidding. He's not that old, but he's old. But
I mean, he did have a heart attack in the ring. You're not telling tales out of school, right? Come on, Jim.
Jerry. But that was that. So I got to tag with Jerry too. Yeah, I got to tag with Jerry at a different baseball field show because they kept doing those. The summer shows are fun.
Yeah, because they're all.
But but on the topic of Liger, it's one of those things where it's very hard for him as well as myself to live up to that level of match, right? So I think it was the safest bet to approach it as a tag match, and the beauty in it is I got to wrestle with the Young Lions, the New Japan Young Lions, Carl Fredericks and Alex Coughlin. So they were in the match with Liger. So for me to get to exchange with them, it was kind of like me living out my dream of being a Young Lion in New Japan, because I never got to do that. I never got to train over there. I'm not saying it can never happen, but it's one of those things where I'm on my path and they're on theirs, and we intersected, and it was like, oh, wow, this is the other side of the coin. This is what it's like. This is how these guys train and how they move, and they're physically in great shape. They're great-looking guys, and they can go, So there's a certain system when you compare the developmental of New Japan, where it's 4 guys, and then you got the developmental of WWE, where it's 100 guys. So one of those is a much more exclusive group, right? One of those is going to have some elite athletes in it, some very good-looking guys, and some really good performers. And the other one's going to have a large variety, men and women, all different types, just to fulfill different needs and niches and diversities, where New Japan is like, this is what we want, these are the guys we want, like a very exclusive group. So it was just an honor to get to wrestle those guys, because they're not allowed to have a lot of bookings. So when New Japan does business over here, whether it's with PWX or Defy or Warrior Wrestling coming up in December, it's a rare occasion to get in the ring with those guys.
But how was Liger? Like, did you guys conversate?
Oh yeah, so wonderful. I gifted him a picture frame.
Oh.
Yeah, how are we? Yeah, I'll be down. See ya. I'm doing an interview. Thank you. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm doing an interview. Thanks. These wild.
You are just you're too in demand.
Dude, these wild people, man. They were at the bar.
Tony Hinchcliffe. Right, he's gonna be down there shortly. Right?
Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, LA was fun. And Liger's great. So my goal right now is that I'm hoping it comes to fruition, but I tried to kind of clear my calendar. And you can edit that out if you want. But I want to go and see his final match. I think that's kind of the full circle thing. I want to go and witness his final match in Japan at Wrestle Kingdom. So I've kind of cleared my calendar from January 2nd to 8th, and I'm not taking any bookings. So I'm hoping there can be some sort of setup with some sort of traveling package I can get to go and see these matches. So that'd be really cool.
Any discussion of you wrestling him again?
I don't think so. Just because it's very hard, to get that set up, especially with his schedule. So you got to consider the schedule.
Yeah.
You got to consider the companies that New Japan is partnered with, the people they're allowed to work with. You got to think about his health and what he wants to go through, what he wants to do, right?
Because
he said he didn't want singles at all.
Really?
Yeah, he said he didn't want singles at all.
Okay, that might have made it, because we tried to book that at WrestleCon.
Yeah. And it almost came to fruition.
Yeah.
That would have also been a 6-man tag, though.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been tagging with the 1-2-3 Kid and Hurricane Helms. Those would have been my partners.
Okay.
And then Liger would have been on the other team. So that didn't happen simply because of logistics. There wasn't enough time for me to get from MLW to that show. And MLW, for those that don't know, is a nationally televised show. So we were doing national live TV that night. And it was just a much better faith to stay there and to focus on that. But, there's been different opportunities and different ideas. A lot of people have bounced the idea around. Yeah. But, yeah.
I mean, we were one of those companies that was batting it around.
Yeah.
Like, we were even talking about putting it in the day U.S. versus the world.
Yeah.
We were going to put it during there. We were trying to do everything we could to make that.
And I ended up having a pretty solid match with...
Emil Satoshi.
Yeah, Emil Satoshi. Yeah. And he was awesome. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But you just brought up MLW. You're still with MLW?
Yeah. MLW, it's going pretty good. Court Bauer, he's got a lot of work, a lot of makings in the works, so to speak, if that's the right way to say it. But no, I think he's working on a lot of deals to expand the company. They just re-signed Tom Lawler to an exclusive deal, so I think they're starting to make some big major plays, some major league plays. I don't know what the immediate future holds, but I know that I have another year left, so I'm working with them. I've been blessed to be with the Hart Foundation, Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Teddy Hart, And things have been going really good. So, a lot of people are concerned, do I go to Impact? Like, they're always looking at, the grass is greener over there. But I quickly realized that the grass is only green where you water it, right?
Yeah.
And right now, my lawn is in MLW, so I'm going to water my lawn there, and I'm not trying to abandon ship and jump to any other company. I think when my contract's up, I think the next couple opportunities will present themselves at an appropriate time. And if somebody wants to preemptively pull me from my contract, then they can discuss that with Corp Hour.
So there are outs to it. Like, what are the outs to the contract?
I think it would just depend on what MLW would like to do. Maybe it's some sort of a buyout of some sort. Some sort of an agreement.
Something like it'd have to be something like an AEW.
Like Matt, like MJF and Jimmy Havoc. They're able to do MLW and AEW.
Yeah, those fucking AEW kind. I don't know what the fuck those are. Because I got guys that are still doing indie shows. Yeah. And
that's the beauty.
I'm like, God damn it, you guys are supposed to be gone, so I can scoop up all your fucking bookings. Seriously, why am I still fighting with Orange Cassidy?
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be gone, then you need another comedy guy, and then I come in and I fill your spot.
Yeah, he's signed. Why is he still showing up?
But now he's on the same exact show as he was before.
Gosh, it's terrible.
Terrible.
I think they're
toil away in obscurity forever, Brian Pillman.
Hey, I think you, like I said, biggest pop I've ever heard. So I think you have something special going for you. And I think a lot of times some of your biggest moments are at Wrestling Revolver too. So I think Sammy sees a lot in you too.
I think so. I hope so. I'm wrestling a tent in about a month. So
you can have a good match with the tent. You can have a good match.
Damn right, I'm gonna have a good match with a tent. Yeah. Might even shoot on it. Might even shoot on it.
Get a little hard on it. Put that bitch up. Pitch you a tent.
Yeah. But MLW, there's not a lot of people that give it a lot of play. And I think a lot of people don't even understand it. But what, it's televised. I've seen it on TV before just by accident. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's out there. How often are they doing their TV tapings? Who are some people that we should be paying attention to with MLW? What are some best kept secrets?
Yeah, so we do 4 weeks of TV in one night. We do a taping once a month, and it's really cool because there's a mixture of a lot of things. We got the hardcore. We got the Mance Warner, Jimmy Havoc stuff. And then we got a lot of lucha. So there's a lot of Hispanic influence in MLW. There's a lot of crossover because that's just our market. That's something that our company is really invested in. So we have a lot of luchadors. We have, when I went to Mexico, I was a star because so many people watch MLW there. I had no idea. I was like, this is a whole other country, and these people were acting like they knew me since the beginning of my career, because MLW just has a wider range of exposure than you would expect. A lot of people expect, this internet show has this many views on YouTube and this one's this. But outside of that, where you're in different countries where people might not have access to the internet, but they have access to this certain special package channel that beIN Sports is. You know what I mean? So there's different windows of exposure that people might take for granted when they're working for MLW. But in my personal opinion, it's probably the best decision. One of the first best decision I ever made was training with Lance Storm. Right.
Okay.
I'll put over Lance Storm because Lance did put me over quite enough in his podcast with Chris Jericho. So.
Oh, he did. Yeah, what did he say though?
Oh, I don't know. I can't even remember. I don't even remember mentioning.
He just said, "Oh, he's okay."
They were talking about all of the successful students that went through there, and I guess I wasn't one of them. So I have yet to prove myself. So I think he wants to see if I'll make it to the WWE because he put over all the people that made it to WWE. Oh. So I think his barometer of success might be if you can make it to the WWE. So. We'll just get to that. We'll get on that main roster, and then we'll tell Lance, "Hey, you can put me on the podcast now."
All right. Well, what was it like training with Lance? Everybody talks about him being a great trainer. What are the qualities that make him a great trainer?
Yeah, well, one of the qualities that make anybody good at wrestling stuff is just being able to talk a lot. And Lance could talk forever. We'll give you that.
See, I train kids, and people tell me I talk too much. I feel like you need to explain it.
Yeah. I guess there's a medium, but he was on the end of talking too much, and he would talk so much. There'd be some days we wouldn't even get in the ring because his ass would be talking the whole time, and I'd be jumping up and down. I'd be doing jumping jacks. I would grab a jump rope, and I'd just be staring at everybody like, "Why are we sitting still?" I'm a mover. I like to move. I don't even watch a lot of movies because I'd rather play a video game because at least I'm moving. Mm-hmm. And it's like I wish it was more physical, but looking back, it was the most comprehensive. collegiate education on wrestling as far as WWE and the indies and this, that, and the other, and just the history of the business, different political trials that he dealt with in the WWE. You know, some of the information was not going to be applicable to 90% of the people in the class. But the 10% that were actually going to have that future in the business and have to go through all that stuff, it was invaluable. You know what I mean? Like no, you couldn't put a single dollar amount on what I learned at Lance's. It was purely priceless. It was great.
Okay, well, what was something he drilled into your head probably the most? Like, it seems like he'd be the type of guy that like have certain things he would say like pretty regularly.
Oh yeah. He has his little, and that's where too, and he has his little like sayings and stuff. But I think one of the most important things he said was don't try to force something you're not. If you're not an acrobat, if you're not a flipper, don't be trying to do all the flips and all the moves. If you're not tall, don't try to work bigger than the other guy. And if you're huge, don't be trying to do a bunch of stuff that the cruiserweights are doing because you might hurt somebody. You know what I mean? So he always talks about playing to the strengths. Always play to what you're naturally going to be best at instead of trying to be an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like you can stick out, but stick out by doing what best suits what you're good at. Like play to your strengths and hide your weaknesses. Right? Like Great Khali wasn't signed because he was the best wrestler in the world. He was signed because he was over 7 foot tall. You know what I mean? And he always told us that, like, don't be ashamed of what your opportunity is or why you got your job. Because he's like, as long as you work hard when you get there. That was a big saying of his. Like, don't worry how you got your job. Some girls get hired because they had blonde hair on the right day. Some guys get hired because they're 6'3.5" and it looks good against this guy. Some guys are hired because they got blue hair, But it doesn't matter when you get there, you work hard, right?
Well, what did he envision you being? Like you said, don't be a cruiserweight if you're not. Don't be a flip guy. What did he envision you being?
He told me that I'd more or less have to learn it all.
Yeah.
He told me, he's like, you're in that boat with, with those guys like AJ and Kenny, where it's like, you got to be able to, you're 5'11", 200 pounds plus, you got to be able to do it all. Because he told me on the indies I'd be a big guy.
Yeah.
And in the pros, I'd be, a small guy or a medium guy.
Yeah, and you got to make that shift immediately. You can't be wrestling like a big guy.
For instance, in December, I've got Lance Hoyt, where I'm going to be working a small guy match, and he's the big guy. But then, and the next day I got Congo Kong. So that's a whole weekend of working that style, which will be great for my brain. But the next weekend I might be working the local guy in whatever city, and he might be 140 pounds. So I might have to pick him up and powerbomb his ass. You know what I mean? So there's different things you got to play to, and I would never say I've ever felt like a small guy. So going into these next couple matches is going to be really interesting here in December because I'm finally getting to work a truly small, like, fight from underneath style.
So as you've developed your style, like, are there things that you've found out that you're like, yep, I'm not good at that? Like, because you're very new. How long have you been wrestling?
Yeah, so I had my first match on December 31st, 2017.
Okay, so we're already like 2 years in.
Yeah.
So you're very much in this time, and you're very energetic, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna try everything in the world.
Yeah.
Is there something you've found out? You're like, I'm probably not good at this.
Oh, I got a ton of lists.
Let's list them off.
So I try a lot of things
because I was
trying to innovate, and
because I tried looking back at some older tapes recently, and I was like, I don't do any of this fucking shit anymore. And I go, oh, now I see why.
So I can actually not do a nip up at all. Like a lot of guys that do their nip ups, drop kick, roll through, nip up, I can't do a nip up. Maybe once out of 10. Like, sorry, I'm just getting tired. You give me 10 tries and I can get a nip up once. And I seen everybody does a nip up in their match.
You can give me
I'm
500.
I'm like, what if I'm the guy that can't do one? I just don't need to do a nip up. And then it kind of ties in.
16 years I haven't had to do one. I've never done one.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Maybe you do one, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, you fucking like it.
As soon as my knees get bad, I'll start doing them all of a sudden.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, light bulb goes off in the head. Oh, I don't need to do that. And at certain moves, it's like, oh, that's a little risky. I don't need to do that. But a lot of things like acrobatic flips and this, I can't do it. I've never done a moonsault. I've never done a 450. And not, part of that's me wanting to take care of my body, but the other part is like Lance would tell us, is like, if you're not a flipper, you're not a flipper,
But obviously, very famous father, had a very unique style. Has that informed your style at all? You ever look at that?
Absolutely. And I look at all different aspects of his career and what he got out of it. And to me, the most important thing was never the moves that he did. It was never that. It was always the body language. It was always the fire. It was always the demeanor, the look on his face, the sick laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So people talk about, oh, you do your dad's moves. And I'm like, well, it's like, I don't try to, I don't try to look up what moves he did or what facials he did. Like, I just, a lot of it's natural,
And that's the DNA that's in your body.
Yeah, you can't help it. Yeah.
Do you ever get like, I don't know, this is weird. Because with me, like, I don't know, I'll share a little story with you, maybe to kind of inform this next question. My uncle was a world record holder in the shot put.
Okay.
The track and field event. And obviously we have a very unique last name. Feuerbach is actually my real last name. And I competed under that name. And I went to college on a track scholarship. So when I would compete, you would see Feuerbach, and it was like, he was very good. He's actually in the Track and Field Hall of Fame. So they would see that name in the shot put, and there'd be usually some coach or somebody, because he also had an instructional tape too.
Yeah.
So every college coach, every high school coach, they're seeing this and like, oh, we expect big things from you, and
That's the expectation, and I think that was the hardest thing coming into the business to deal with. Was I knew that getting in the car and going to the show, I was always on my way to fail. I was driving and heading to a show to fail, and that was the hardest thing to deal with. And it wasn't until, I want to say recently that I've been getting really confident in my matches. At least I'm getting the positive feedback that I always wanted, not the fake feedback like, oh, you did great. It's like, no, I didn't. It was my 5th match. It was the shits. Like, tell me the truth. Just because I'm Pillman's kid doesn't mean you got to lie to me. But people wanting to make me feel good, this, that, and the other. But now that I'm actually doing it, now that I'm actually, putting on these performances, I'm so humbled by the business now, because I realize how much it takes. I realize that after all those failures of driving, personal failures, I don't want to say anybody else thought that way, but after driving to all these shows and getting booked and thinking about, do I really want to do this or want to do this, and then going from that to, having a bunch of, opportunities and different things, and saying I can make a living wrestling and not having a day job. Like, it was really day and night of how things got started, because, like I said, I really hated the fact that I was held to such a high standard, and I felt bad. Like, I always felt like I was letting people down. Mm-hmm. So, but I haven't felt like that in a while. So,
well, what flipped? What was it? You just stopped caring, or were just like you felt like you got better, or
I think MLW really helped me mature as a wrestler, because that TV is high pressure. Working with Teddy Hart and Davey Boy was high pressure. So eventually, if you add enough pressure to somebody, they're gonna start figuring shit out, and I think that's what happened is they really helped me develop. Guys like Low Key and Gotch, they kind of really spoke to me about some different it's just a lot of different things, and they made me the pro that I am today, and I can't thank them enough. But yeah, it was definitely a rough, rocky road for a while. I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do.
Well, yeah, you just had a match with Low Key recently, didn't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Because people have their fucking stories about Low Key.
Yeah.
I've never wrestled him before, but I have my stories as well.
Yeah.
What's your story wrestling him?
Well, my story with Low Key, man, he's a great wrestler. He's one of the best to ever do it, and you can see that in his matches in the past and even now today. And I think what he does is he really makes a great effort to lose himself in the performance and to truly believe in it. But at the same time, while he believes in it, he's also putting you over and also making you look good by shoot respect of the business, where he shoots, he's putting out so much selling and so much body language that you don't have to go out there with a bunch of spots and stuff. You can just go out there and fight the guy. and he's gonna make you look like $1 million, whether you fucking headbutt him, you slap him, you chop him, this, that, or the other. He's just such a pro, and I love using the word pro because there's a lot of people that wrestle on the indies are not actually pros. Like, they're not pros at their craft. Like, they might make $30 or $40, but they're not making a living, like, or a professional living at their craft. And some people that I've been blessed to wrestle with have, you know. So you gotta kind of weigh that out and decide, is it worth the exposure? Is it worth this? Well, I could get this.
But no complaints.
Yeah.
It just.
Oh no! Oh, as far as the low key match, it was a true honor. The dude really knows what he's doing. We told a great story, and you know, I wish I could see it easier, but it's on pay per view. It's on Fight TV, so I won't say much more other than we told an amazing story based on who low key is. I ribbed him with a couple things too, so it was pretty.
Yeah, because I saw the Twitter feed about.
So I had his shirt on that says, you know, it says I love Pillman, but it's a play on his old WWE gimmick where he had to wear the girl shirt, like where he says I love, and then the girl's name, and it was like, you know, you're my bitch, you know, like it was kind of that kind of story. And then he was like, nah, bro, like I'm gonna beat the respect into you, and then he did. So you know, it was a unique story.
But yeah, like any stiff shots, like you.
No.
And were you like, you know, was it kind of like
care of me? Yeah, he actually let me beat him up most of the match.
I was gonna say, like, did he give you the green light to be like, hey,
yeah.
you know, I'm gonna give it to you?
I was told the match was supposed to be 50-50, and that I was supposed to get a lot in. But a lot of that was just us working. You know, it wasn't like, hey, it was just who's in control, you know?
Okay. Let's talk about you working with Teddy and Harry. Harry, by the way, smoothest person I've ever been in the ring with.
Yeah, Harry's
hands fucking down of everybody I've ever fucking wrestled. I've never wrestled anybody even close.
Yeah.
To timing.
Yeah.
And just like
you don't even know what's happening. He just like he makes the match happen. Yeah.
Yeah, like it
just happens right before your eyes, and you're like, oh wow, it happened. You know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I think Harry kind of gets carried away with that because he's so good and he knows it. But I'm not on his level, so when we tag team, he might leave some things out that I need to be reminded of. You know, I need to be Iggy'd on this or that. And hey, man, you should probably like let me know how you want to do this. Oh no, let's just do this. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but you know, let me know so I know, and then we can all know. You know, so
yeah, because it's so second nature to him because he's been wrestling.
Yeah, he almost doesn't. Yeah, he almost doesn't realize what it takes for guys like us to comprehend
to figure out. You know, because I wrestled him very, very like in the middle of my career, and I was just blown away. Like, this guy is unbelievable.
Yeah,
like I don't know why, because it was just after he left the WWE this last time.
Yeah,
and I was like, why the fuck is this guy not wrestling for? He's the smoothest, unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And it's not his fault as much as it is the company just not having the right ideas.
Yeah. But does MLW have the right ideas with you guys?
I think they do. I think they have Davey Boy's and mine's best interest at heart. I really do think they're building some stars out of us, and that was very evident by the crowd tonight. A lot of people had said that they watched MLW and stuff, and it's also, you know, it's really accessible through YouTube. So I think that the people that want to watch it will, and the people that don't want to watch it won't watch it. You know, it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, this network deal screwed us, and that and the other. It's like, no, people are going to watch it if they want to watch it, you know. And that's how MLW operates.
Okay. What's it like being around Teddy?
Oh, you know, I don't know. It's being Teddy Hart, you know. It's like every day you're a third generation wrestler trying to make the Hart Foundation proud. I was very lucky that Teddy came into my life, came up to Dojo Wars. He said, Brian, I want to make you a star, kid. And, you know, took his advice, and here we are. But no, I think Teddy has a very, very kind soul. I think he has a very spiritual heart. He wants what's best for everybody. But at the same time, it's Teddy Hart, and it's on his time, and it's on his dime. And he's always going to be doing what he wants. And I respect that in a man. I respect a guy that goes out and does exactly what he wants when he wants. But there comes a time where that strategy doesn't work, you know. And unfortunately, that strategy is, you know, backfired on him, whether it's, you know, professionally or just romantically, like in his relationships. I don't know, but I think he has a lot to learn still as far as just toning things down a bit. But for a while, he was really well put together, and he's reached that age now where he's 39 years old, and it's always been a blessing to look up and learn from him. What to do and also what not to do, right?
Yeah. What are some of the lessons that you've learned from Teddy Hart?
No, I always joke. So I got Harry on one shoulder, that's an angel, and I got Teddy on the other, as the devil. And Teddy would always say, Brian, you get a good slap on your leg, those fans they'll pop for it. And then Harry would walk up like, Brian, I don't think you should slap your leg. Your dad would have never slapped his leg. And I'm like, that's a good point. So then I'm juggling these 2 points, and I'm like, what do I do? But I usually just side with Teddy because, I'd like to dance with the devil a little bit.
It's a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Because when you're playing with angels, it's not as interesting. So.
No dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, right?
Any big plans that are coming up with you guys?
Okay. Yeah. So this is a very big weekend next week, Wednesday and Thursday, the 71st annual Opera Cup.
Okay.
I guess this is a tournament that was under wraps for 70 years, and now we're bringing it back. And MLW has the original trophies and everything. So he's really putting a lot of thought and energy into this, and there's going to be a whole other structure for the people that work at AEW. So there might be some more branding for them to get used to. Mm-hmm. But overall, really good.
Well, I mean, you've been very fortunate and get to wrestle multiple different people. And who are some matches you want to? Who are some people you want to wrestle? There's some people out there.
Like now in the future?
Yeah, no, in the future.
Okay, yeah. So like I said, I've had, like you said, I've had a bunch of opportunities thrown my way. I get to wrestle Dreamer and stuff. Starting off as a young guy, that's a great match, right? That's somebody that can really take you through and teach you a thing or two. But
I'll say the Dreamer was probably the reason why I'm as over as I am in Revolver right now.
Yeah,
I was just kind of there. I was just kind of in the scramble match.
Yeah,
and then I had one match with him in Iowa, and ever since then in Iowa, it's like a walk on water. Mm-hmm. And the only thing in that equation that started that whole path is this match with Dreamer.
Yeah, it's hard to have a bad match with Dreamer. Huh?
You can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And he's got his things that he does that he knows works, and you go out there and you perform it, and you do it, and it's one of my favorite matches of all time. It's actually where Tent was born as well.
Okay.
So we can thank Tommy Dreamer for Tent. But who else other than Tommy? Who are some people that you?
Well, we were talking about people that I'd want to wrestle.
Yeah,
so I thought it would always be sort of poetic justice to wrestle Jon Moxley. Because when I was growing up, but getting into my older years when he's in the WWE and stuff, I kind of resented the guy. I kind of hated him because everybody compared him to my father, right? And then they had the toys, and it had John, or had Dean Ambrose and my dad were in the same toy package, and that always drove me nuts because I'm like, that should be me in there, that should be, because it says then and now, I was like, that should be me.
Have you had an opportunity to tell him
as a toy? Huh? Oh no, I haven't. No, so maybe he'll watch this. But anyways, I was always like, oh man, that guy, he's in the same box as my dad. I want to be in a toy in a box with my dad. Screw that guy. But then as I, more matured and got into the business and understood things, I was like, this guy's a hell of a performer. I shouldn't be all upset with him. But I still think it would make for some great business. If me and him had a match, I'd be like, hey, motherfucker, I'm the then or I'm the now. And you're the then, you're on your way out, I'm on my way in, motherfucker. So, but no, I think we'd have a great match. He's also from Cincinnati, Ohio. So when he cut that promo in New Japan, he said he had a message from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was like, you know what? I got a message too. And I'm trying to deliver that shit to Japan. But no, just a huge inspiration for me. Obviously, my father was a huge inspiration for him. There's a lot of similarities there. So, the cycle of life continues. You keep going down the rabbit hole, and different people adopt different things from different times in people's careers, and that's why wrestling's beautiful. Is you just never quite know what you're gonna get.
Have you? And you've had a lot of people come up and be like, I was a big fan of your father's, or he was an influence, or I knew him, or if you got any. Met anybody I never knew that you interacted with my father, or he was that big of a deal? Have you run into anybody I didn't realize this guy was my father.
Oh yeah, all the time. Especially like when you're meeting different people that may or may not be in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone in football, like John Harbaugh, for example, the coach of the Ravens. It's like, oh yeah, like my dad went to college, and with him, like they're friends. Oh, he went on to be the head coach of the Ravens, and my dad went on to be a pro wrestler. So it's like that's kind of unexpected, and it's like, oh, now you're friends with John. But because my father not only had an influence in pro wrestling, he also had an influence just on a global scale with playing football and being surrounded by sports his whole life. He did a lot of traveling, so he was quite the charismatic guy. He got a lot of people to like him, and I think one of my strengths, especially going through high school and in college, I was always very good about getting people together. I was always very good about getting a group together, getting a party together, getting people together, and I think that has reflected itself in my wrestling and my ability to kind of organize and meet my fans and keep everything in one concise deal.
So did you play football in college?
I played Division III. I played Division III lacrosse, NCAA lacrosse.
Okay.
Yeah, and I played high school football. Yeah.
Okay. Well, where'd you play lacrosse at?
I played lacrosse at the College of Mount St. Joseph.
Where's that at?
It's in West Side, Ohio.
Okay.
West Side, Cincinnati.
All right. I'm an NCAA
So I was an athlete, but there was maybe a couple of years where I played video games and it didn't work out. But sometimes you gotta take a break.
Was there any aspirations like maybe I'll be a professional lacrosse player, see if it works out?
Yeah, I think there's always that, right? Like you get you get that vibe in your head, and it's funny because whenever you're really into something, it feels like that it's the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shit! So I thought that lacrosse was like the coolest thing ever. I thought it was the fastest growing sport in the world. I was like, everybody's gonna be playing lacrosse. Like it's gonna be the best. I'm gonna be a pro. All these girls are gonna come over.
Lacrosse's biggest years are ahead of it, not behind it.
Yeah, not behind it. Everybody's gonna play. I'm playing. That means everyone else. And then I was like, okay, this might not be the next biggest thing. And I just wasn't that successful at it. Mm-hmm. And then it's like you get into video games. It's like, esports. It's going to be the next big thing. League of Legends, Counter-Strike, all this. We're going to play video games for a living. And everybody's going to pay us, and we're going to stream. And
you're not wrong about that.
Yeah.
You're probably wrong about lacrosse, but you're not wrong about that.
So I had a good hunch on the video games.
Yeah, you were on the right path. Probably should have stayed there. You'd be a lot better. Your knees might be a little better, back might be a little better. Yeah.
But that was something that I actually did pursue. I pursued an esports career through League of Legends. Yeah, I was a top 1% player, and I traveled. I did tournaments and stuff. Yeah.
How do you break into esports?
Oh, you just freaking play the games enough to where people recognize you as a high rank, and you get to know people. Cincinnati, the University of Cincinnati, was a very esports centric college, and I didn't go to college there, but I took part in organizing their events. I also did commentary for several events there, so I was very deep into that realm. And I've always been a gamer. I've always been a video gamer, and I got real deep into that. But since I had pursued more athletic ventures such as pro wrestling, I've since pulled out of the whole esports scene. But I think I've learned a lot from that. I learned from sports, and all.
What did you learn from esports that's transferable to professional wrestling?
It was a lot of teamwork. It was a lot of teamwork that you didn't get playing like football. Like with football, you're out there playing the sport, but you're kind of you're not talking as much. I can't talk to the defensive lineman down the way. Like I can't say, hey, this over here, this, that, and the other. But when you come from the video game world, everybody's mic'd up. Everybody's in each other's head. Mm-hmm. So every thought, every instance, every reaction you have, you can convey that to the other person. So you can almost move around the map or whatever game you're playing as an asynchronous unit. You're almost all one being, right? Mm-hmm. Where with traditional sports, the communication isn't super crisp. It's more of we all have a game plan, let's execute it.
A bit more of a feel.
Yeah,
timing.
It's more of a feel of it, yeah. And it's just like wrestling, and like I said, I've learned that communication. It's helped me in wrestling because I can talk to guys, whether it's before the match or after the match or during the match. I can always kind of convey, like, oh, this is this, oh, this is this, oh, hey, do this, like it's very fast paced and it's very intense, but I'm always ready for that, I'm always ready to kind of react based on, the other person's, desires or inputs into the match,
Well, what was your game in esports?
I played League of Legends. Yeah.
Okay, League of
For
Legends.
5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
You were
5
involved
years
in
I
that?
played that game.
Did you were able to make money off it, like a career?
A little bit, yeah. Some tournaments in Kentucky and some different surrounding areas. Like for where I lived, I was a pretty high-ranked player, so I made a couple $100 here and there, but never made a living. No, I never streamed because I was always trying to get better, and I didn't want to be distracted by the streaming. But I've since streamed different games, like through to my wrestling fans. Like I have a Twitch stream that I stream different games.
Yeah, I hear people are making good money off of Twitch.
Oh, you can make a lot of money doing Twitch streams, but again, it's another thing that you have to put a lot of work into, and a lot of people don't expect that. Like,
what's the work you got to put into it? This is a whole. I'm asking more questions about this than I'm pro wrestling because this is an entire world I have no fucking.
So
clue
with
about.
streaming, you really got to focus on your viewers, and you got to talk, and you got to engage, and it can be very demanding mentally just to do that, let alone play the game you're playing.
So you got to be entertaining while you're playing this game.
And most people that get the most viewers are the pros or the people that are super skilled. So it's like, oh, okay, all my mental capacity is going towards getting really good at this video game. But now I have to develop this charisma to be able to communicate with these fans and to show them what I'm doing while also entertaining them, having giveaways, having different special things going on to make my stream appear that it's more important than the other guy. So it's a very I would say, hyper competitive. The streaming environment is hyper competitive. Somebody that's a millionaire one day, somebody like Ninja that could blow up overnight on Twitch through Fortnite, might the next day, be outshadowed by this World of Warcraft guy that, hit level 60 first, right? So the video game world is very hive-minded in the sense of what is a true accomplishment and what is, a gimmick, so to speak. So it's like, oh, this person's sitting down here playing this game, like, how do we really know they're skilled? Well, you just look at the screen and it tells you this, and you have your metrics of this is what they did and their achievements, and, And you have the fighting game community, which is fun.
But isn't it so it's based on how well you play the game, too? But you're also, do people tune into people that are just kind of okay at playing the game?
Yeah, you have some people that are more on the entertainment side.
Because I heard a story of somebody having their kids who were interested in a Twitch stream, and the person who's playing the video games were giving life tips, and people were like, no, that's what they tune in for is just hey, be a better person, be polite, and he's playing a video game where he's fucking somebody up.
It relates to wrestling because that would be that guy's gimmick.
Yeah.
His gimmick would be that he plays this game, but he gives life tips. Or some people's gimmick is that they wear a furry outfit while they play. Or some girls' gimmick is that they just, they puff their chest up while they play and they get a bunch of viewers and more power to them because that's their gimmick, right?
Did you have a gimmick?
So my gimmick going into streaming was that I was a wrestler.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I'm a pro wrestler. This is my Twitter. I'm a stream tonight. I'm going to play this, that, or the other. And so for the longest time when I was streaming, my fan base was my wrestling fans, right? That would come in and watch. So
yeah. This is basically my comedy.
And my gimmick is that I have a mullet. And people were like, oh shit. This is Twitch.tv and that guy's got a freaking mullet. I'll tune into that. Yeah. So I had some good viewers going for a bit. And then, like I said, it just became really demanding, and I had some important wrestling work coming up that I wanted to focus on. And you can't do everything, right? You can only spread yourself so thin. And it's that guys like Jericho that can seemingly do everything. That's kind of what I strive to be. I want to be one of those guys that can sing and dance and rap and act, and I want to do it all because I think of myself. I think I have the potential to be a big star. So.
Yeah, but I think at the same time too, it does become very draining because I have 2 podcasts. I have stand-up comedy, fledgling stand-up comedy career, and then also wrestling, and then working at High Spots. And I often wonder, am I spreading myself too thin, and I'm not good at enough at any of these things?
Yeah. That's why it's what do they call it? It's intensity versus extensity. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's
super intense or something, or you're extensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm afraid is happening is I'm not good at any of these things. And I'm just doing these things. And people are like, oh, you're doing a lot. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if I'm good at any of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody's just told me to stop podcasting because that's not how it works.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly.
And that's what you got to find out what your niche is. Maybe you're a very good multitasker, or maybe you're a very good organizer that you can organize all these things that create value. But some people are so narrow-minded. They can only do one thing at a time. They can only really drill in and get really good at jump rope or get really good at chess. Like they can't do both. So maybe you have a knack for multitasking.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But what would you ever go back to esports? Like, is that something you think about?
So I actually talked to a guy when I was at the Comedy Store in LA, and he was one of the guys that helps Kenny get involved with esports and stuff, and Kenny Omega, and and he's very passionate about the fighting game community and Street Fighter and all that, and that's something that I love to see too, because that's a very competitive, like that comes down to the wire. That's mono e mono. That's one guy versus another guy. That's not a bunch of all these other outside random factors. Like when it comes to fighting games, this is the real deal. And I got to meet with him, and so I do see a future of me partaking in some events. Maybe show up at Evo or something, and hopefully meet some fans. But I think I'll always be a gamer at heart. I don't think I'll ever compete on a level that's actually serious. Just because when you get to that level of gameplay, the people are playing 12 hours a day. They don't have. I'm not gonna say they don't have a life, but they don't have a life outside of the game. So I'm far beyond being able to commit my life to that. I've been there, done that. I tried it. I really enjoyed it. I wish I hadn't spent so much time doing it. Right. I had a much more fruitful social life. In college, if I wasn't playing video games all the time. But and you get older and you start to realize that sometimes it's nice to go hiking and to go outside and to do a lot of different things, and especially staying in shape and being fit. So video games are something I grew out of for a while, but now that I'm older, I'm kind of, visiting it again and making friends online again and stuff. And to me, it's a social thing. I don't ever play games by myself. I'm always with friends or even Sammy Callahan and JT Dunn. We used to have a clique that we would run Apex with, and it was just a lot of fun. It wasn't like we weren't aiming for an esports title. Like we were just having fun killing stuff. We weren't like taking it too serious. And I think when I was younger, I took it too serious, and I never had fun because I was always trying to win. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I can have fun.
Okay. Well, you've definitely had fun with your wrestling career, but we're getting pretty close. We'll wrap it up here in the next.
Yeah, we'll do some more. Yeah.
But where do you see yourself? Like, what do you have a 5-year plan? You just living day to day? Like, what are some things that you're thinking about doing for yourself and your career and moving it forward?
Well, I always talked about it like a 4-year plan, kind of, because like high school and college, it's always 4 years. So to me, in 4 years, you can almost learn something. You can almost say, okay, I could do this. In 4 years, if you haven't learned something at a high level, then maybe try something different, right? So I think being 2 years in now, I'd say in 2 more years, I got another 1.5 years with MLW, and I think after that MLW contract's up, maybe take some time off and reflect on what I value and what I want out of my career, and then take the next big step. But I think the possibilities are endless, man. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to go to WWE. I'm not going to say I'm going to AEW. But I'll tell you this. I got friends in both of those companies. I'll tell you they all work hard as hell. I'll tell you the guys at NWA work hard as hell. The guys at MLW, Ring of Honor, everybody's working their ass off. But I think I have something special to bring to the table, and it's not going to be an easy decision. It's not going to be a one-off thing. There's going to be a lot of contemplating. There's going to be a lot of people involved with this decision, and to be honest, I know I'll make the best one, because I know that people that want the best for me are watching over me, and they're going to present me with the best opportunity I can get. So
just be independent, and then if these fucking AEW contracts will fucking get these guys off the indie circuit, we'll get some fucking spots in the main event.
We'll start working the big show. It's like, somebody get these guys. Yeah.
So that's the thing. You missed out on, you came in at the best time of pro wrestling, because there's upward mobility. Mm-hmm. Absolute upward mobility. Like, we're in 2009, the same hot indie guys in 2009 were the same hot indie guys in 2003.
Really? Wow.
It was the fucking 2009.
That's just where you were, yeah.
2009 was the fucking worst, man.
Really?
The fucking worst. Like, you came in right as people were, like, getting signed, and, like, they started going, like, hey, how many people can we fit in this performance center?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we've already fit 80 people. Let's see if we can get another 80 in here.
Yeah.
Let's get another 80 in.
Let's poach them all from.
Yeah, now
that's what I fear. I fear in the shuffling of everything, I might get lost in the shuffle. You know, I feel like in order to really truly stand out as a star, you have to know when to settle down and when to really respect what you're doing in your own work and let everybody else kind of let them move around, let them go here, go there, let all these companies kind of flesh out their system, let them flesh out their TV stories, and let everything run its course, and then see where do I fit best. Because when everything's moving so fast, you might think, oh, I might fit well here, oh no, but I might fit there. But once everything settles down, it's like, okay, that's a triangle, I'm a triangle, I'll fit in that, spot, or I'm a square, there's a square over there, So I don't want to make any hasty decisions, right?
yeah, you can't. And
patience is a virtue,
and knowing who you are is very important as well. Like, me being a comedy guy, I can look at a company and go, oh,
yeah,
you're never going to book me because you already have Cole Cabana on your roster.
Yeah.
So you already got your comedy guy. Done, crossed off. Oh, you've already got Joey Ryan. You're not going to talk to me. So these are my options that I have because these guys are in place here and these guys are in place here.
He's in the square peg and you want that same square peg, right?
Yeah.
Where with me, it's a little bit more fluid. I'm still finding myself as a young athlete, as a young performer. I might not know, am I the crazy guy yet, or am I the fiery baby face?
Are you the promo guy? Are you the fiery baby face?
Yeah.
Are you like this sadistic heel? Like you don't even know that yet.
Yeah. So I try to be fluid enough that I try new things. Like I said, when I had that match at PWX with Slim J, Brian said he saw a different side of me because I did try something new. I tried something a little bit more, a little bit more evil, a little bit more cunning and heelish, where a lot of times I'm just coming out, yay, baby face, everybody loves Brian Pillman.
Yeah, you are a lot of baby face, and there's always this big love behind you, so it's very hard for you to be a heel right now.
Yeah, it's hard to go outside my story because my story is very real.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, it's like this character, and what am I going to do in wrestling? And it's like, I almost don't have a choice because my story is real. Wrestling has been real to me since I was born because it has had a huge effect on my life and how I was brought up. Because of wrestling, I went most of my life without a father. Because of wrestling, my mother went through the trials and tribulations that she went through. And because of wrestling, I am now back into it, and I'm now meeting all these people and learning all these different styles. It's all coming so fast that I almost don't have a choice right now but to sit back and just kind of digest and really see, what do I want to do? I get what all these other people want me to do. I know what trainer number Y, wants me to do, or a certain guy like, hey, oh, you should do this move. Oh, don't do that. He does that. It's like, but what do I want to do? Or, oh, why are you practicing that move? Everybody does that move. But it's like, what if I want to do that? It's like, oh, your dad wouldn't do that. Well, it's like, okay, but what if I want to do it? And that's what people don't get is that like I've got my own paintbrush and my own my own canvas to work with. So
Get all that love from people and receive it, take all of it, and then just fucking turn on.
Yeah, burn the place to the ground. Right?
Everybody, burn everybody. But we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything like you want to say to your fans or anybody that comes out to see you in the future? Anything to look forward to in the future that people want? This is probably
it's 2019 and I'm wrapping up my second year of wrestling, and I just want to say these are some of my biggest, strongest matches I've had. If you get the opportunity, look forward to my match with Low Key, pay-per-view match, MLW. My first ever real pay-per-view match. I had the pay-per-view appearance at Double or Nothing for AEW for about a minute and a half in that Battle Royal, but this was the first time I was put on a card, a very high-level card with singles matches all across the board, and everybody came out and delivered. I think it was our best show ever. The Super Fight pay-per-view at Sister Ed Stadium, Brian Pillman Jr. versus Low Key. Check it out. Follow me on Instagram at FlyingBrian41. And I've got some big headline matches coming this month too. So
Very active on Twitter. Answered those DMs very fast for me.
Well, no, I knew it was you. Yeah, for sure. If it's just some random guy.
Random guy, random girl makes a difference. You're answering them as fast as
possible.
possible.
So I'm very active on social media. Twitter's Flying Brian Jr. As always, tweet at me, and any picture you tag me on Instagram, I'll instantly put on my story if it has to do with me, because to me, activity and keeping things flowing on social media is very important. It's the lifeblood, just like the podcasts. They fuel our business.
Absolutely, it's how we interact with these people.
Thank you for having me. And
thank you for having me.
I was really looking forward to this.
Absolutely, man. You taught me about esports. I'm
glad we can get that out of my system. I currently play World of Warcraft Classic because I'm an old man and I like the older games. So add me on Classic server Whitemane.
Since you're yawning, on there. Since you're yawning, we talk about esports pack.
That's not even. It has nothing to do with the interview. It's just because I drove all day and I'm tired. But you
perked up right when we talk about esports. Now I know what the key is to keep you awake. So
talk about video games. Yeah.
But anyways, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for joining us on the High Spots Wrestling Network, Best 99 in the Biz. Woo! Thank you very much for joining us for another edition of Fireside Chat with Amanda Scott Manning and Brian Pillman Jr.